try to avoid the risks of dangerous levels of warming in future. The talks at Katowice in Poland saw delegates from nearly 200 countries haggling over rules for how to tackle climate change. A slow process, but eventually a deal was done.
It will move us one major step towards realizing the ambition enshrined in the Paris Agreement. An ambition that will ensure that our children and their children look back at our legacy.
Went down to the wire, trying to get an operational rule for the Paris Agreement 3 year ago. There are some big last-minute arguments about carbon markets in some countries.
money here for schools to play with. And is this specifically ring-fenced? Can you confirm that for us? Is there any danger that this will be then consumed by the bigger school budget?
Now, this is money that goes into what's called the high needs block at local authorities, and they distribute the money in different ways. So some of it is for capital, and that could be for new places in schools. We're also welcoming bids. We have welcomed bids for new free school special schools, and we'll be looking at those bids very shortly. So it is specifically for provision for children with special educational needs and disabilities, and those additional costs. And there have been strains, very significant strains on some local authority budgets, and this will go some way to dealing with that. But as I say, it's not only about the cash, it's also about changing the way we do some things to make sure that we, in a good way, ensure that the right provision is there for the individual child. And
can you confirm, where has this money come from specifically? Again, has this come out of the total education budget, or is this extra money that you found from elsewhere?
No, well, each year we allocate money to schools. Inevitably, you have to do it based on projections of the number of children and children's characteristics, and you make estimates of how much money there is, and then we adjust those estimates during the course of the year. And so this money is a result of some of those projections having come down in terms of the number of pupils or particular characteristics. So we're able to identify this money to go specifically to supporting children with special educational needs, and that was right at the top of my list of priorities.
Yeah, it sounds like you're kind of moving money around rather than actually investing new money into SEN in particular.
No, that's not what's happened. As I say, you make projections at the start of the year, and then if it is possible to identify some underspend because the projections are, and by the way, every year the projections are different from what you project at the start of the year. But it has been possible this year to find some money to put specifically towards special needs, and that's for the revenue funding. But there's also the capital funding to improve facilities and provision, and also more spaces in free school special schools. So there is for the children for whom that is right. Okay. And of course, for many it's right to be in mainstream, but for those where it's right to be in a special school, also more provision and more choice there.
You talk about the treatment of children with special educational needs as being a kind of almost like a moral barometer of how we treat society, and yet in the last 5 years under Tory government, almost 1,000 children with the highest level of special needs are without a school, and that number has doubled. They are now being homeschooled. You shake your head, but those are the numbers. These are the numbers that we've got here. So is this not a damning indictment on the way that you've treated these children over the years?
No, so I think the figures you're referring to are some figures that are called awaiting provision. That actually covers quite a range of different circumstances, and it does not mean that children are specifically not in school. To say you're awaiting provision could include being in one school and waiting to be moved to another, or in some cases, at the end of compulsory schooling and awaiting the next move. And the reforms that we brought in 2014, the Children and Families Act, that brought in education, health and care plans, were a really important step forward. But we have to keep improving because, as you rightly say, it is a barometer. It's a barometer of how we are as a society, how we treat, how we help and support and develop those who need that extra help. And that job will never be done. We will never have done enough, but we have to keep striving to do better. And this package that we're announcing today is one step in that.
Well, people will be glad that the government is focused on something other than Brexit, which is our constant preoccupation, it seems, anyway, which I must ask you a couple of questions on. Given that it looks like Theresa May's deal, yes, here it comes, is likely to fail, I don't know of anyone who says that it's going to succeed. You might tell me something different, but what is your preferred plan B if she can't get this through Parliament?
Well, I think, Rachel, there's too many preferred plans going around. There's about 5 or 6 different preferred plans going around, and all of them have in common. First is that many people are strongly in favour of, but the second thing is the majority of people are against them, and that's why it's to think beyond every preferred plan, beyond everybody's sort of ideal option. What's something that we can all gather around? What's something we all and something like deal that's put forward actually is a very good balanced approach, which actually I think people can get behind. But we need to think. Everyone needs to come to terms with that. That first option, your preferred choice is just not supported by the majority.
You can keep
So
banging
therefore,
that, that there's still life in this deal, but very few other people believe that, and there has to be a plan about what happens next. It would be incompetence on the part of the government if there wasn't a plan. Now, we hear reports in the paper this morning that various senior members of the Conservative Party are meeting people from Labour, talking about a second referendum, another vote of some sort. Do you approve of that? Is it time perhaps for politicians from a party spectrum to coalesce around a different when this one fails?
No, I don't approve of the idea of having a second referendum. And the idea that a second referendum would break the deadlock is just wrong. A second referendum would postpone the deadlock, but then it would extend the deadlock, and we could have the whole thing all over again. No, we need to work our way through this now. And you said it's important to have a plan for what happens next. And that's precisely why the Prime Minister has been in Brussels, has been talking to the various leaders of Europe, and will continue to do that, because there are concerns, particularly around this thing called the backstop, and it's important to address those concerns. But ultimately, the essence of the deal that the Prime Minister has put forward to get the other side is a really good deal. It's best of both worlds. Delivers on the referendum, honours that result. It's free movement, gets us the agriculture policy, fisheries policy, we can strike our own trade deals, but also means a strong economic relationship with the European Union. And before the referendum, for that deal to both people who leave and those who remain, would have bitten your hand off.
She's got nothing back from Brussels. But one person who is speaking in Brussels is Tony, and he's been talking about, look, if all other options fail, another vote should be something that's on the table and at least to be considered. You may raise your eyebrows, but plenty of other former ministers have intervened in the Brexit debate as well. John has been very vocal about it, how much he thinks that, the UK has effectively got itself in the foot. Should we not be listening to these politicians who have some experience of negotiating, being on the world stage?
What we need to do is come together. We need to come together around the plan for Britain, and then we need to making the case for that plan and making sure that we can get it through. As I said earlier, there are all sorts of different preferred options that people have. And there's sometimes a bit of wishful thinking that if only, the current, the deal that's on the table, if that doesn't get through Parliament, then what follows is bound to be something that is closer to what I like. And there is really no reason to believe that's true. The deal, the essence of it, that the PM has negotiated, is a very good balanced deal. As I say, it is in many ways the best of both worlds. It can appeal to people who voted Remain and people who voted Leave. And so what we need to be doing is focusing our energies behind that and getting it implemented, and then we can move on and do everything else that we want to do.
So that was the Education Secretary, Damien Hines, speaking to Rachel Burden a little earlier. Just to apologise, we have had, as you probably noticed, a few technical problems this morning, but we're OK now, so let's press on with the day's news. And Chester Zoo has launched a £50,000 fundraising campaign after fire destroyed much of the vast roof covering its monsoon forest area yesterday.